So whether you're making a mystical floating crystalline structure or Stargate-inspired portals to other dimensions or abstract Escher-like dreamscapes, a floating bobbing 3D object can really add to the overall look and feel. And the good news is they're fairly easy to make with just a little bit of ACS scripting. So to show you how I make this effect, I've just made a quick room here with a gap out of a couple of sectors and this skull texture. I'll add a few smaller sectors over this gap and turn them into some floating bricks by using the Make 3D Floor option. So I've made these floating bricks here, but I want to make them wobble up and down to look like they're really floating in thin air. This just takes a little bit of scripting. So what we want to do is actually select the origin sector of the 3D floors and assign it a tag of its own, because this is the sector we want to play around with if we want it to move around. Next, open your script editor and add the usual Z-common ACS inclusion. I like to make my special effects scripts start from 100 just so they're out of the way. We'll designate this script to run when the map opens, and then all we need in here is a single function, floor_waggle. As for the parameters, we'll set the tag as the sector affecting the 3D floor, in this case sector 2. Then we'll set the amplitude to 60 and the frequency to 20, offset to 0 and time to 0. You can play around with these parameters to make the waggle effect more pronounced, so have a go and see what different integers do. This function makes the floor of the chosen sector go up and down smoothly at a certain rate indefinitely. And that's fine, but if we leave it like this, only the bottom side of that 3D sector will have the effect. So you want to mimic the effect with a ceiling waggle. We can do this right in the same script and copy the same parameters over from the first one. And that's all you really need to achieve this effect. So let's have a look. There you go. These can be stood upon, traveled across. They'll take people up and down. You can make raising platforms out of this kind of effect. You can make some pretty interesting looking things like the crystal shards I made from one of my maps at the start of this video. You'll just have to make sure all the relevant textures are tagged with the same value so they stay in sync if you're using a multi-sector 3D floor. So one other thing worth noting is that when they all raise and lower at the same rate like that, it can look a little bit artificial. So we can tweak this by splitting these sectors up and giving them a random delay. So select your 3D floors and split them up using the 3D floors split option. Give all the new sectors unique tags and open up your script editor. The only change we're going to do in here is capture this in a for loop and then use the I value as the tag so it cycles through all the chosen sectors we've created. Then before the end of the for loop, we'll just add a little delay with a random value. I've just chosen between 10 and 35 here. Save your script and you're done. This will offset the start of the brick waggle for each of those bricks by just a small amount. And there we go. So that looks much more natural. Okay, that's how to make some cool floating objects. Have a go yourself. Cheers.